Last week on Talk SA, we examined the culture of virginity testing in South Africa and tried to bridge the gap between tradition and modernity. Thanks to Leandra Lee van Zyl for her post on our Facebook page. Your comment helps South Africa to keep talking. Today on Talk SA, we'll be finding out how debt counseling can help you get rid of debt. We'll also be chatting to members of an investment stokvel and the 2011 Financial Planner of the Year for tips on how to save more money in 2012.
We save far too little.
The start of the new year is the perfect time for change. There's no better time to sit back, reflect, and look back on the triumphs and the failures of the year that was. Everyone's thinking about changing their lives now at the beginning of the year. We're thinking of losing weight, getting a new job, getting rid of bad habits. But how many of us are thinking about money? Yes, I'm sure we all thought of really great ways to spend our money in December, but how many of you are thinking about saving or getting out of debt this year? Today on Talk SA, we're going to be talking about personal finance in 2012. Time to tackle the so-called root of all evil, money.
I don't want to overspend this holiday because I thought January is coming, so I don't want to be broke in January.
My biggest expense is my rent and trying to get my place furnished as well.
I don't go out on a shopping spree with my credit card. It's only just for emergencies when I really need the money.
I do not have a credit card because I don't want to get myself into more debts.
I just like to have money when I need it. So I basically put maybe 20 rand every day, and then like at the end of the month maybe see how much I have and maybe spend it or save more.
Yeah, into ngiyenzayo vele ngisave every month 200 for incusi zami for holiday makunenkinga ekhaya vele le mali iyo isifanayo.
Isindjalo jwalo ke fela ha nako ne ke ruta moshimane wa ka le ko college ko Boston ke gone ke ile ka kadima tšhelete mo bankeng ka loana tšhelete for ke mo tsenye sekolo but ka matla a modimo ke ile ka kgona ke ile ka nka tšhelete o ka mo patalela ko Boston ko Randburg and then ntse ke patala ntse ke sepetsa.
There's been a lot of hot debate around the financial forecast for 2012. Experts say that we're in for a bumpy ride and a possible recession, while others say that South Africans can look forward to enhancement and growth. We spoke to Warren Ingram, who's the director at Galileo Capital. He's been advising people about money since 1996, and here's what he had to say.
Warren Ingram is a regular financial and investment commentator in the media. He shares his positive outlook on money matters in 2012.
At the moment, interest rates are at 34-year lows. So in most of us, in our lifetime, we will only see interest rates this low once or twice in our lifetime, which means for people who have debt now, if you've got credit card debt or store card debt, now is the time to take advantage of these low interest rates and actually to pay off that debt as quickly as you can. And I would say it's literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for somebody who has major debt now to solve their problems as much as they possibly can. And I think it's important to understand that what you shouldn't be doing now is taking on more debt simply because interest rates are low. So I think a lot of people, what they would have found is that although food prices have gone up, for example, over the last few years, if they've got debt, their debt repayments have got lower and lower and lower as interest rates have gone down, and hopefully they've been paying off their debt and not taking on more debt simply because they've got a bit of a leeway now in their monthly expenses.
If you look at some of the costs going in at the moment, we're looking at an inflation rise. That's an increase in 2012 on food prices alone of 10 or 11%. Fuel over the last quarter has increased by 20%, and electricity in April 2012 is again going up by a huge amount. All these have an effect because what they do is they increase the price of other consumables and other services that you have to pay for out of your budget.
South Africans spend a lot of money, probably far too much money on cars. So, I mean, I'm an exact example. When I first got my first job, the first thing I did was I figured out that I was going to take home about 3,000 Rand a month. So that meant I could spend 2,700 Rand on my car repayments, and 300 Rand a month would give me enough money to live on. And that's a big mistake, and it's a classic mistake that we make as South Africans. I think the other thing is we spend a lot of money on brands, whether it be branded clothing, branded shoes, those kinds of things, and I think we probably spend too much money on those things and too much money on our appearances rather than saving.
Most preferably clothes, Clothes. I love clothes.
In the last year, I probably spent about 3,000 Rand on sneakers.
Roughly about 8,000 Rand last year.
I love spending money on furniture.
And when you see the word sale, you just have to go there and buy something, even if you don't have money.
Young black kids go buy clothes, and they meet very expensive clothes, like from the Pradas, from everything, and they meet together, and what they do, they actually burn the stuff that they buy to see who's got lots of money. And I mean, to me, I find it very disturbing, and it's true. I think they're called, there's a term for them, it's kotane in Zulu. That's what they do. I mean, when I see that, I get shocked.
In terms of being wasteful, that's exactly our point. This should be a country where we spend a lot of money on cheap cars because we're not a rich country. The average South African is not a rich person. But if you drive around any of our major cities, I mean, the number of big fancy German cars that you see just tells you that we're wasting our money and we spend it on debt.
Debt is still a taboo subject, and there's some embarrassment regarding talking about debt, both to family and to friends.
And I think that's the one thing is that even high-income South Africans are heavily indebted. Because they earn a big salary, what they do is they think that they can take on a lot of debt, rather than saying, let me buy my items cash and save up for my big expenses. They don't do that. What they do is they get on debt and they use their salaries to pay off the debt. And the moment that they get retrenched or that the economy goes against them or interest rates go up, what we find is a lot of these South Africans, right from the poorest to the wealthiest, get into a lot of problems with their debt. So that's the big issue we have is we spend too much and we save far too little.
In South Africa, there seems to be a very big problem with people saving for retirement. In fact, some statistics reckon that only 5% of the active working population will be able to retire comfortably.
I don't save for retirement yet.
So far, I haven't made any arrangements, but I have a separate account where I save my money, a money builder account.
Ngizoqala ukuseva kahle kulonyaka lona ngizokwazi ukuthi ngisevele abantwana bami for imabaya university ngiseve igoli yami kulonyaka lona nje ukuthi ngisevele abantwana for imali yesikolo and everything else.
South Africans aren't saving enough for their future, and they're not protecting their financial needs.
After the break on Talk SA, we'll be finding out exactly how a debt counseling agency can help you reduce your debt.
Already in South Africa, struggling with their debt. That represents around about 60% of the credit active population.
It's a vicious circle. It just goes round and round and round and round.
Consumer Debt Report says that 8.9 million South Africans are stuck in a debt nightmare. That means 8.9 million people are having sleepless nights. They're stressed out because they don't know how they're going to pay back the money that they owe people. And the agencies that are there to help us are flooded with over 27,000 applications for debt review. However, if you are in debt, this is the perfect year to get out of it.
Debt Busters is the leading debt management company in the country. They have helped over 8,000 people get out of bad debt.
Why do people want to see a debt counsellor, and why do people not talk about it? Well, the first thing is that debt is still a personal finance, and it's personal to people and their households. So they do not talk about debt to their friends, to their families. It's still a taboo subject. That needs to change. There are around about 11.5 million consumers already in South Africa struggling with their debt. That represents around about 60% of the credit active population. Therefore, it's an epidemic within our country and one that has to be dealt with. One of the areas it can be dealt with is by obviously seeing a debt counsellor who can manage that process for you. But really you need to be talking very much with your families and closer to home about your debt situation.
'n Paar jaar gelede was ek geskei gewees. Ons was in 'n huwelik gewees met groot skulde. Daar was 2 inkomste gewees en as gevolg van 'n egskeiding was daar 1 inkomste gewees en baie skuld. Om vir my kinders 'n beter lewe te gee en meer geldelik te kan wees, het ek onder debt review gegaan.
Somebody comes to me and they want to sue somebody because, especially in the business industry, people with small businesses, the one person owes that person money, then that person can't pay my client because there's people that's owing him money. So it's a great big circle of people not being able to pay their suppliers for things that they've bought. And then it's a vicious circle. It just goes round and round and round and round.
Met al die oproepe was 'n mens geïrriteerd, misluk, jy het dit op verkeerde persone uitgehaal. Jy het nie geweet waar elke dag se inkomste en uitgawes vandaan gaan kom nie en hoe om jou lewe te lei nie. En jy het ook nie geweet waar om die geld vandaan te kry nie.
We will look at what the financial position for each client is going to be. With that financial position, we'll also then go through and have a look at what can be paid through to all the credit providers and look to create the best possible situation for both credit providers and clients.
Ek het na 'n debt review konsultant gegaan met my bankstate, my inkomste, my uitgawes en sy het dit vir my uitgewerk. Sy hoe om alles te kan betaal en alles is onder een bedrag gesit.
Pay whatever you can, but do it on a monthly basis. If somebody receives money from you every month, they will not sue you. Everybody knows it's tough out there. But if they receive R1,000 every month from you and they see that you're committed and that you're bona fide and that you're going to pay that amount every month, then they won't do anything against you.
Well, there's been a massive increase based on the credit bureau monitors of the number of people who are taking out loans and who are falling into arrears. There are currently 19 million people who are what are called credit active consumers, and of those there are 11.5 million who are in arrears. That is 60% of all those credit active consumers are in arrears, or it's double the tax-paying population of South Africa.
Debt is what caused all our economic problems at the moment right around the world, that we need to learn a lesson from that. And the main lesson is don't buy what you can't afford. You know, a lot of people would now, for example, want to go and buy an appliance, you know, a fridge or a couch or something because their repayments are lower, and all they're doing is they're taking on more debt. You know, what you really should be doing now is saving up for those items and building up the cash and then paying for them. So if you've got personal loans or if you've got credit card debt or you've got an overdraft, now's the time and this is the year to try and get that debt down as far as possible, and if possible to get it to zero and to try and start saving again.
What we know about South Africans is that we are a nation that consumes. We love consuming. Individuals in South Africa love luxurious lifestyles. One would say, well, it's everywhere, but talking about South Africans, we don't save because we like to spend a lot. And the problem is we spend on credit, we spend what we don't have, we spend our incomes, our future incomes, we spend them today. So we don't save at all. If I save, I'm making my money available or my funds available for a potential investor. By them engaging in some productive activities, they're going to be able to pay taxes to the government to start with. They'll be able to create jobs for many of us, and we know, I think there's one thing on everybody's mind, the unemployment rate. So many times we are screaming, we're not getting services, but are we playing our part? So if I don't save, there's no funds, I'm going to get old, and as I get old, I'm relying on government to bail me out, to look after me, to continue providing the services that I need even when I'm old. And out of what are they going to be able to do that?
After the break on Talk SA, we'll be finding out how Stokvels have helped to build a savings culture in South Africa.
To be more cleverer in terms of saving it.
But if I go to a bank today with 10 million rand, the ball changes. All of a sudden, the bank manager will then tell me what I can do with my money.
the South African Savings Institute, South Africans don't have the strongest saving culture. However, saving money doesn't just benefit you, it benefits the whole country.
There are over 80,000 stokvels in South Africa. Let's find out more about them.
Stella, usitshele about research that you've conducted. A lot of people believe that stokvels is something that's dying in the country. What did your research find?
Re dirile research e ka lebaka la gore re na le kgatlhego ya go kwešiša gore di-stokvel di bereka jwang ka baka la gore re bona gore re nyaka tsebo e tseneletseng ya bohlokwa le go tshepagala ga ditsebo ka taba tša di-stokvel.
And what kind of stokvels are there to choose from?
Mehuta e re hweditšego ga re dira research ya rena ya mehuta ya di-stokvel ke sa mathomo ke sa go reka di-grocery dijo mafelelong a kgwedi e ka ba dijo e ka ba dilo tša go hlwekiša ka ngakong re se bitša gore ke grocery stokvel ke group e nngwe. Group ya bobedi ke e bitšwang gore ke tša polokano seo ke a tseba mang le mang wa tseba re di bitša di-society but ke stokvel tša polokano. Se sengwe ke stokvel se se bitšwang gore ke savings ka sega ga borena se bitša gore ke mokolokotana ke gore re bea tšhelete mmogo gore e be e ntšhi so se bitšwa savings kapa se bitšwa money stokvel. Se seng sa botlhano ebile se se bitšwang gore ke di-investment stokvel batho ba bea tšhelete gore ba kgone reka di-share di-companying goba ba tlo thoma dikgwebo tša bona ka go thoma stokvel.
Well, the name for a stokvel is Power Invest Stokvel. And we chose the name because power, we want to create a financial power. And the invest come in the fact that we're not a consumption stokvel. Most of the stokvels in the country are consumption. People pile up money and then they spend the money either in Christmas on a monthly basis. So ours is an investment stokvel, so that's why we call it Power Invest. And every month we just put in that money. We see it more as putting the capital, building the tree so that one day we'll be able to benefit from those trees. And our aim is to build as much massive financial pool that we can so that whatever investment that we might decide to go into in future, it's much easier for us to go into those finances. So like I was saying, if you go to a bank, they want you to bring all sorts of things and to substantiate things. But if I go to a bank today with 10 million rand, the ball changes. All of a sudden the bank manager will then tell me what I can do with my money.
When one is approaching a bank, obviously you need suretyship, you need, you have the Credit Act that requires one to be, it's like vetted before they can be granted finance. But the opportunity of a stokvel not only presents us with, the savings or the pool of funds. For us, there are other aspects like even the education.
There's a notion yoguti as abantu bala South Africa we don't have a good savings culture. Is that true?
Ke bona nkare lebaka le lebelelwang ke ka baka la gore savings ye e bolelwang ke go save ka go boloka tšhelete bankeng but ga re ka kwiša go di-stokvel ke mokgwa o mongwe wa go saver re ka kgona bona bohlokwa jwa gore polelo ya gore as South Africans we don't have a saving culture ga se nnete ka lebaka la gore ke bolela ka market o e leng gore ke 44 billion. In other words, 44 billion ke tšhelete e bewago ke maloko a di-stokvel.
Besides a stokvel, what other ways can we find in order to develop a savings culture amongst us as South Africans and in order to make our money work for us?
I think we still have a situation where money is limited. Some people tend to spend the little bit that is limited. And people that tend to have money in abundance tend to be more cleverer in terms of saving it, almost like knowing the hardships of getting money, and they make it stretch further. Ka lebaka leo ke bona gore ba ileng gore ke ba bantši ke ba ileng gore ga se ra tšo re tseba bohlokwa bja gore tšhelete ya rena re ka dira jwang gore re tšwele pele re hwetšagale le gore go na le dilo tše di re gapeletšang gore tšhelete ya rena re isenye ka dilo tše e leng gore ga di re iše pele. So ba bantši ke bona e le gore ke ba e leng gore tšhelete ga se ba go tseba go hlokomela ga tšhelete ga se go tšo go ba mo go tseneletšeng ke ka lebaka leo re nyakang thuto re nyaka bahlahli re nyaka batho ba re lemoše gore ga o na le tšhelete o ka e boloka ka mokgwa wo o ka e boloka ka mokgwa.
people do save. It's just that if you don't know something, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So formally, the Reserve Bank might do their own work and find that the savings in the country is sitting at 5%. That's just because they don't know where I come from in my village, that my father was able to buy something. Taxi drivers in Bristol, they buy each other taxis through a stokvel every time. Even though they just save, but they do something with the money that they do. They buy a taxi, cash generating unit, and make money out of it. So people do save. It's just, when you do sampling, sometimes you reserve it maybe to certain areas. But deep in rural areas, families are surviving because of stokvel, even though they're consumption stokvel.
I mean, our dream to achieve this stokvel here is to build a mega enterprise one day, where we don't have to be dependent on the banks. We want to have our own finance and be able to do anything that we want with the money.
If money's too tight to mention and your wallet is still suffering from the holidays, don't despair. You don't need a big com to figure out how to save money. All you need to do is stop spending money on stuff you don't need. Let me show you how. Cigarettes and booze. Did you know that South Africans drink on average 35 liters of alcohol a year? Now, if you save on the amount of alcohol you drink, it not only benefits your health, but it also benefits your wallet. Eating from a takeaway restaurant could cost you between 20 Rand and 60 Rand. So why not save that money and pack lunch? It's definitely healthier. Clothes. How many pairs of jeans do you have? And how many pairs of jeans do you need? And shoes? Ladies, I know we've got a problem with this one. How many pairs of shoes do you have? And how many pairs of shoes do you actually need? On average, a gym subscription will cost between 200 and 600 Rand. Now that's worth it if you're going to be going regularly. But if you're not, rather save the money. Rather, when you go shopping, don't use a trolley, carry your own bags. Walk to the shop instead of driving your car. You know, think exercise, take the stairs, use your body. Airtime. Think before you dial. Do you really need to talk to that person? Why not exercise your thumbs? Send an SMS. Buy SMS bundles. Use free messaging services. Excuse me, please can I use your phone? Oh, thank you. Oh, I get to save money. On the 2nd of February in 1990, FW de Klerk lifted the 30-year-old ban on the ANC. And then 9 days later, on the 11th of February, Nelson Mandela was released from prison.
Your nation builders of the week this week are Power Investment Stokvel, Warren Ingram, and Mama Pudi Kadima. Keep talking, South Africa. Next week on Talk SA, we find out what it's like to be deaf in South Africa.
FTHK is a theatre company where we create performances using deaf and hearing performers together, integrating them too.
2011 was a difficult year. Maybe 2012 will be better, maybe it'll be worse. But the only way for us to conquer 2012 is to be prepared no matter what the economic forecast may be. Take charge of your personal finances. Think about what you need rather than what you want. And remember, you can be young without money, but you can't be old without it. Until we see each other again next week, Hari Bueng, laat ons praat. Let's keep talking SA.